Dear all, this is the third video of the Cold War era, and as said, we are going to discuss the emergence of two power blocks in this video. So, as you can see in the map given here, which is the same map as in your book, the two superpowers created or divided the entire world into two camps or the alliance systems, which was called the Eastern Alliance and the Western Alliance. Now, why this happened? This happened because both the superpowers wanted to extend their areas of influence. So, if you want to extend your areas of influence, what are the things that you have to do? Remember that this was the period of the end of the Second World War, and too much destruction had taken place in Europe, which was the playground of the Second World War. So, first of all, America extended a military and economic help. This economic help was a very massive program of assistance to the European nations, to the Western European countries for their economic reconstruction, and this was called the Marshall Plan. In comparison to this, in contrast to this, USSR also came forward with large-scale economic aid to the countries of Eastern Europe, and this is referred to as the Molotov Plan. Now, this is not given in your book, but this is what is important to understand. So, it's not only about the military parts, it's also about economic aid. Because of these economic aids that were extended, the countries of the Western Europe, highlighted with yellow color here, colored yellow here, came and joined the US, forming the Western Alliance. Why Western Alliance? Because this is Western Europe. Okay, and the countries of Eastern Europe, particularly to say these countries are Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, all these countries joined joined the USSR camp or forming the Eastern Alliance because they fall to the eastern side of Europe. So the two alliance system emerging clearly here, and because of their geographical location they were referred to as the Eastern Alliance and the Western Alliance. Okay, these alliances were consolidated through military pacts. Military pacts, a pact that talks about joint military actions or coordinating the armed forces in case of any crisis. So these military alliance pacts emerged very quickly. Now in this map you all can see that all the areas that are colored with yellow were the part of the Western Alliance. The areas colored red were the part of the Eastern Alliance. Okay, and these green areas were the another alliance system that emerged as an answer to this Cold War, that was non-aligned movement, which we will be talking later in the chapter. So the Western Alliance was is sometimes referred to as the first word also. The Eastern Alliance is referred to as the second word, and the non-aligned group of countries are referred to as the third word. These terms you should know because question when it comes in the exam can use any of the term. Eastern Alliance, Western Alliance, first word, second word, whatever. Okay, so I was talking about the military pacts. The military pacts, the first military pacts to come up was US and its allies forming the NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, in 1949. And to counter this, USSR, Soviet Union, forms a pact, especially with the countries of the Eastern Europe, which was called the Warsaw Pact in 1955. USA formed two more alliance systems, which was SEATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization, with the countries targeting Southeast Asia, and the Central Treaty Organization in the Central Europe. Okay, so these were also two more pacts signed by USA. These military pact system, the economic aid system, clearly divided the world into two camps, giving a lot of intensity to Cold War tensions. Now, another question that arises here, why the states entered into alliances? What was the benefit of the different states joining? So, why the smaller states joined the bigger states? Why the smaller states joined the Eastern or Western alliance system? Number one, they got the promise of protection. Okay, so the smaller states were not having a good military or army and they wanted protection. So in this situation, if you're getting protection from a superpower, what's better than that? And mostly these protections were sought for against the local rivals. For example, if you see the India and Pakistan rivalry, Pakistan joins the capitalist alliance system. Why? Because of security against India. Then they also got weapons and machinery, and then economic aid, which I have already talked about. Okay, now if you come to the superpowers don't require military aid or economic aid from the smaller nations. Then why did they sought the support of the smaller nations? Why they looked for smaller states joining them? What was the benefit lying there? Number one was the vital resources. They got access to the vital resources of these smaller countries. They got territory from which they could spy also, and they could launch their weapons. So they got territory from where they could build up their military base. We have already seen the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba was a small island off coast USA, and that's why it was so crucial for the Soviet Union. Soviet Union made a military base in Cuba. So this purpose the smaller nations were serving. Then they got the location to spy. I have already told that the spying was a very important feature of the Cold War. The entire propaganda machinery relied on the spy system. They were spying on each other's programs, and if you have to spy, you need some ground to spy from. Okay, and then they were also getting economic support to pay the military expenses. Like if the superpowers are stationing their forces in some smaller nations, then the smaller nations also bear the cost of that military stationed over there. So that is why the states entered into alliances, and the alliance system that was created resulted in the division of the world into two power blocks. That this question, emergence of two power blocks, is asked as a 6 marker in the exam. So prepare your content accordingly. Points I've clearly given. You can build up on your content on these on the basis of these points. Fine. So now the next thing that is there in the chapter is the non-aligned movement, and one topic which we can quickly see is the arenas of the Cold War, already referred to in the previous videos. Arenas where the crisis and war occurred or threatened to occur between the allied system but did not cross certain limits. Like they were proxy wars. Okay, so it did not cross certain limits, mean it did not escalate to a third world war, which was very often feared, but the crisis occurred between the two powers. Several arenas of this Cold War era were Korea 1950 to 53, Korean crisis, the Berlin crisis of 58 to 62, Congo problem from in the early 1960s, Vietnam and Afghanistan. Now, whenever these crises occur, the non-aligned countries, the third world countries, which you've already seen in this map, the countries colored with green, they played a very crucial role in reducing the Cold War tension wherever it occurred in different arenas of the world, and they intervened as in the Korean crisis, NAM-mediated. UN Secretary General played a role in reducing the Congo crisis, the tensions during the Congo crisis. So Somehow these tensions were averted and it did not escalate too much to cause too much destruction. So this is arena of the Cold War, and the next video I'm going to discuss about a very important topic of the chapter, that is non-aligned movement. So see you then. I hope you all are studying well. Keep studying, keep learning. See you in the next video. Bye.